But you can't criticize Israel as a country. That's just another country, unless you're saying, and you're clearly admitting, that the Daily Wire is an arm of the Israeli, I guess, media or propaganda machine. Is that? Oof. Are you manipulating the religious right?
Candace Owens is no longer at the Daily Wire. Unless you've been under a rock for the past few weeks, you probably already know that, but Ben Shapiro recently made some public comments regarding why she's no longer at the Daily Wire when he was talking to Dave Rubin, and essentially he's saying that the Daily Wire is a publisher, not a platform. So there's an ideological window that the hosts who are at the Daily Wire have to fit in, despite the fact that Ben Shapiro has criticized other publishers in the past for eliminating journalists for having opinions. Look at what Andrew Schulz had to say about it.
But he's basically like, there's a window of ideas we accept.
Yes.
And we accept ideas between this, I guess this is, if I get window, you're looking like this. So we accept ideas between here and here. And anything outside of that window, well, you're fireable. That's censorship.
What?
But he's acting as if this is like a justified reason for firing people when you built your identity and platform off of no censorship and freedom of speech and facts don't care about your feelings and all this shit.
It's also funny that that window happens to end where his beliefs end.
Isn't
that interesting?
You would say that.
Not being pro-Israel, that's where the window ends. That's also your specific personal belief.
What?
So I just don't see.
You can't have an opinion on your platform that is not pro a country that is not ours?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Crazy. I wish.
So is the Daily Wire an American media platform or is it an Israeli media platform? I'm just asking.
This guy's cooking.
I'm just asking. If the rule is, I'm just saying, if the rule is you cannot be critical, because he has no problem being very critical of America.
Yep.
He's critical of the left in America. Left is half the country. You have no problem eviscerating half of the country.
That's the current party in power.
But you can't criticize Israel as a country. That's just another country, unless you're saying, and you're clearly admitting, that the Daily Wire is an arm of the Israeli, I guess, media or propaganda machine. Is that? Oof. Are you manipulating the religious right in America? Are you manipulating the right-wing conservatives in America and selling them country western movies and putting on your little cowboy hat and fake moving to Nashville so that you could take all their money and then in the process restricting free speech, one of the core tenets of the American identity? Ben.
In general, I tend to agree with the premise that a publisher and a platform are two different things. A publisher is allowed to editorialize, is allowed to say, hey, these are the viewpoints we represent. This is what we stand for. It gets a little tricky when you're talking about a publisher who proclaims to be objective news, but the Daily Wire has never made that proclamation. They've made it very clear that they are a conservative outlet. The issue, though, is that Ben has been critical of publishers for doing the exact same thing in the past. I tried to find the original clip of this, but I couldn't find it. However, they did show it on the PBD podcast. I'm going to show you guys that clip.
There are polls out there that show that a vast majority of Americans in every single political group, including liberals, feel like they cannot say what they want to say in public because they're afraid that they are going to be canceled, fired, cast out from polite society. Yeah. And then this actually happened to a socialist moron named Nathan Robinson. He got canceled from The Guardian. He's basically saying he got canceled from The Guardian because he had put up some anti-Israel tweets. Okay, now I think he's an idiot. I think that his views on Israel are abhorrent, but I don't think that he should lose his columnist slot over at The Guardian. That's a different story, obviously, when it comes to any publisher. Any publisher gets to make decisions about what it wishes to purvey and not. He certainly would not defend anybody on the other side.
He used to say, now he's so he went against his word on basically everything that he said. He went the complete opposite because we found out that they fired her. They didn't have one of those contract disputes. They were like, you don't see the way that we say, you're being anti-us, goodbye. And they fired her. So that's just proof that he's a hypocrite.
Thoughts on this?
All right. So basically what Ben has said in the past regarding Nathan Robinson, who's on the left, is that he should not have been fired from The Guardian for essentially having an anti-Israel stance. Now, what that is Ben saying, here's a journalist who should not be fired from a publisher for his opinion, and specifically even his opinion on Israel. That is in direct opposition to what he has said now about Candace Owens and the Daily Wire. I'll show you guys the original clip of him talking to Dave Rubin where he explains this.
It seems to me that at this moment, she's now a free agent. She happened to end up on Locals, which I created, and they were a platform, not a publisher that you guys are. Can you at least talk to just sort of where it's at now? She's not with you. She's free.
She's free to do whatever she wants to do, to be wherever she wants to be. And the difference between a publisher like the Daily Wire and a platform like Locals is obviously that a platform should have a very broad range of speech that it allows, including speech that maybe even the creators don't believe is inside what they would consider to be the Overton window. That's a very different thing than direct subsidization of particular opinions. The Daily Wire would not have a host, would not pay a host who was staunchly pro-abortion. They would have no obligation to pay a host who is staunchly pro-abortion. And so when it comes to the hosts on the Daily Wire, obviously everyone is able to say what they want. Nobody ever comes to me and says, you can't say X. Nobody ever says that to Walsh. And no one ever said that to Candace. But the reality is that there is an Overton window at the Daily Wire. Obviously, there was a non-meeting of the minds. That's pretty much all I can say on this. And, you know, a lot of this has happened publicly. But to the extent that the Daily Wire is in fact not a publisher, it is that is in fact not a platform, it is a publisher. That means that there is no moral obligation for the Daily, and there's no free speech problem with the Daily Wire saying we don't wish to pay a particular host, or that host saying I don't wish to work here anymore, because again, there's a parting of the ways that is not really open for discussion at this point.
Okay, so there's an Overton window at the Daily Wire. There was a non-meeting of the minds, and Ben has alluded to that's essentially why Candace is no longer there. We now know that she was fired. So it seems as though if you put the pieces together, she was fired because she expressed an opinion that didn't align with the acceptable, to use his phrase, Overton window at the Daily Wire. Most people are assuming here that it's Israel, Palestine. Ben has finally at least alluded to why she is no longer at the Daily Wire. Personally, and I think most people would agree, that a platform and a publisher are two different things, and that in general, a platform should be neutral. It should allow free speech, and you can decide for yourself who you agree with, who you disagree with, etc. And then a publisher, especially if it's a publisher that comes from a particular ideological set of beliefs, they're going to feature people and pay people who hold those beliefs. And all of that is acceptable. I think where people are finding Ben to be a little contradictory is, for example, when he said that Nathan Robinson shouldn't have been fired from The Guardian for his tweet about Israel. Now, The Guardian is a publisher. Nathan Robinson was fired for being outside their particular Overton window. Why is this a different case? Why does Ben, in that case, say that Nathan Robinson shouldn't have been fired when it aligns exactly with what has happened at the Daily Wire, as far as we know? And Candace Owens, it's perfectly acceptable that she was released from the Daily Wire for not fitting within their Overton window. I think that's a point that Ben probably needs to address publicly, because people are starting to put those pieces together. He had a very clearly expressed opinion about 3 years ago regarding Nathan Robinson, and it seems as though his opinion now is 180 degrees from the opinion he previously held. Maybe his views changed. Maybe 3 years ago he believed that publishers shouldn't fire people for not fitting within their ideological window, and today he believes that it's acceptable. I just think he needs to address that, because it's now very clear there is a difference between the two opinions that he's expressed. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Anyway, that's my take. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Give this video a like, share it with a friend. It means the world to me. I will continue looking for the best social, cultural, political, and other content to share with you guys. Bye.